Hi guys, and welcome to the Divine Sofia podcast. I am in the incredible place. Guess where I am? I am in Tulum. What a incredible place to start the podcast today. Those of you who don't know Tulum is an energy vortex, and today my guest is Joey McCune. Joey, you know very well that this is an energy vortex, don't you?
I do.
Tell me what brought you to Tulum.
That's a whole story. You know, about 10 years ago, I was living in Seattle and I was living the life that everyone assumes that they want. You know, I owned a company, my husband owned a company, and, you know, our kids were launched into the world. I was doing sound healing on the side for many years.
What was your main job?
I owned a real estate company and did interior design and staging for homes. And together with my husband, we curated many, you know, passion projects together with using design and, you know, construction and all that. So real estate's been a huge part of our life. And I literally channeled in the middle of the night, several nights in a row, because I kept ignoring it, that I was supposed to move internationally and build a sound temple somewhere in the world. And I thought that seemed really out there. And I had never been to Tulum before, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. We started traveling. I rolled over. I should back up. We rolled over and in the morning and I said, what would you say if I said, let's sell everything we own?
You said that to your husband?
Yeah. And move internationally and build a sound temple somewhere. And he looked at me and he said, okay. If my company sells, then that's a sign from the universe, and we'll start looking for a place.
Well, straight away, that's an amazing relationship.
Yeah, I'm fortunate. Yeah. And I thought, is this for real? So we put his design, build, architect, construction firm on the market, which, let me be clear, that's all him. And when you sell a company like that, usually people don't want to buy it because that person isn't going with the company, right?
Correct.
So
yeah.
the whole branding was all about him. And I thought, this is a stretch, but let's see what happens. And we sold it almost right away.
So then how long did it take you to get to Tulum after that happened?
Yeah. We traveled for about a year all over the world and tried to find, you know, a location that invited us and welcomed us and that we felt called to. And we came to Tulum 3 times, and I didn't like it.
Wow.
Yeah. But
How do you not like Tulum?
I kept getting called back to Tulum because I was looking for something really tranquil.
Right, so you've got this crazy side of Tulum,
Yeah.
Which, you know, those of you who haven't been here will know you've got this party scene, but the energy is still there. And then if you just go out a little bit, you've got jungle, you've got the ruins, you know, the land speaks to you, doesn't it?
Yes. So we looked at a lot of houses, and we were in Tulum, and I kept thinking, okay, I'm a little old for this area. You know, I'm not going to be leading yoga classes and, you know, opening up a juice bar. So will this really work for me? And we ended up renting a house in the jungle, and I fell in love with the jungle.
Now, had you ever lived in the jungle before this?
No.
Listen,
I lived in the concrete jungle.
The concrete jungle. I mean, I have stayed in Ikal, which is like a tree house on the beach, just a little bit outside of the main party zone. And, you know, raccoons landing on the roof and, you know, all sorts. I don't mind the geckos and the lizards. I love them. They're very spiritual creatures. But last night I was on the phone to my friend. I did scream because there was something about that big that landed on my bed, and I just sprayed it with insect repeller. And then this morning I see the corpse and I'm like, Sophia, what have you done? You know, so I need to get over that. How did you get over that?
You get used to it. And
you do.
I think you realize that everything is a frequency. Right?
It is.
So even that ant that you're pressing and killing, then that frequency goes out, and we're all so connected. I mean, I literally raised my family in Seattle, Washington. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not a concrete jungle like New York City.
But you live in the jungle.
Yeah.
I mean, when I say she lives in the jungle, she has literally built a house, a sound healing studio, and within that space you have what is a cenote. So a cenote, for those of you who don't know, in layman terms, is a body of water. Now, you told me this, that was created by a meteor landing. Now, tell me about this.
Yeah, it's so much more than that. So when the meteor hit the Earth, creating the Ice Age, when the dinosaurs went extinct, that meteor hit outside of the Tulum area in what's called the Chicxulub crater. And you can't visit it because it's in the ocean. But we know that that is the landing point of that meteorite hit. So that's what's considered to have created this vortex of energy that's all around Tulum, why so many people come here for the healing. Granted, I always have to say, married to also the fact that we have the ancient Mayan civilization here and all of the cosmovision. So with all of that alchemized, of course, it's a place that, calls in a lot of healers. So when that meteorite hit the Earth, it broke into thousands of pieces all over the Yucatan Peninsula. Each of those pieces hit, creating a sinkhole, and the sinkhole is connected to the second largest underground river system in the world.
Wow.
And each of those sinkholes are the cenotes. So the ancient Mayans believe that the cenotes are the entrance to the underworld. It's the entrance to their heaven, the Xibalba, I think is what they call it. And excuse my enunciation because I am definitely not Mayan. But in the Xibalba, that is where you enter and you come after death into your heaven. So it's where you first open your eyes in the new world when you've passed through. And so the cenotes are really considered to be sacred bodies of water. And in the ancient days, of course, all the sacrifices were done there. You were buried with your Cholosquinkly dog and sent into the cenote, for your afterlife. And so to own one is pretty powerful and pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the first time I went into a cenote, there's a big lake at the end of the hotel zone, and I remember when I first arrived in Tulum, which was during lockdown, as a healer, I embody the divine Sofia, and my incarnations are very, very powerful. So I have these gifts, and they just got much stronger here. And I just had this crazy energy. I couldn't deal with it. I was high, but it was like, this is too much for my body. And I was running around Tulum asking people, where can I get a sound healing? And they were only doing these group sound healings. I'm like, no, I need something now, one-to-one. And then some guy said, are you okay? I said, just got this energy and I need to integrate it. He said, go to the end of the road, there's a cenote. So they call it a cenote. It looks like a big lake, and I just jumped in, and that was it. The energy integrated. And then from then on, I went to obviously Chichen Itza and some other cenotes, and one actually in Acomal, which has an underground, it's a cave system with the underground water. And I remember when I first got in there, I was just like a baby. Wow, I'm in the womb of the mother. I just felt this child energy pre-birth. It was like, it was joyful. It was so joyful. And every time I go into a cenote, I feel like I'm in the placenta of Mother Nature. And we had this conversation, didn't we?
Yeah, 100%. In fact, I always say, welcome to our water temple, where you enter the womb of the earth, and we hold you in that during your ceremony. I 100% agree with that. It's a very, very special feeling to be, especially in the cenotes that are in the caves, because it's almost like a portal within a portal, right?
Now, some people don't understand the concept of portals. Now, me and you do, and a lot of other spiritual people may or may not. But there's also a huge bunch of people who are going through awakening. There's been a massive shift on the planet. And with that, even the people that don't believe in this are feeling it, because Gaia, Mother Nature, the planet has ascended. We're in the age of Aquarius. And this shift is massive. As of April the 12th, even for me, I channeled something in an ice bath, which we're going to be talking about later. And it was the birth of Sirius. Sirius is finally here as of April the 12th. And that is going to create, it is creating, can't say going to, it is creating a shift. So those people who we think will never shift into the new earth energies, they have to, because we are the cells of the body of this planet, right?
Mm-hmm. I think that we are entering as a collective into the field all together right now. And more people are waking up to that, 100%.
They are. Now, your incredible land, your cenote, your sound healing is a huge part of that. And you must have seen so much coming in and out. Have you ever had people who've never done a sound healing go into your space?
Yeah. I mean, I should back up and say that first I built the sound temple, which my husband
Right.
created for me because that's what I thought that I was called to do, was to build the sound temple. And this is a place where you're hanging in a silk cocoon, so you're in a womb feeling as well. And I thought, okay, I'll see some people here and there for a sound bath who will find me out in the middle of the jungle. You know, it's sort of a semi-retirement thing. And it just kept blowing up. And then the world closed down during the pandemic. And I thought, seriously? I listened to you to come build a sound temple, and now the world shut down. What is happening here? I really trusted this path, you know, and I trusted and bought this home, and we knew that there was an old cave on it, 66 million years old, but we didn't know what to do with it, and here we are. And the next thing you know, the world, as it was shut down everywhere, opened only in Mexico, and everyone started flooding to Tulum.
That's when I came.
And so I thought, oh, you had me. I understood immediately that I was called to do this so that I was ready, and I was already prepared for what was to come. And so at that moment, it was really, really magical and really powerful for me, because I realized that I had built a portal that was now opening and expanding, and I was ready for this conscious shift that's taking place and this new age awakening that was happening, and I was already part of that field.
Yeah.
So that's when my husband's mother passed away, and he ended up going macheteing down to the cave that we had on the property. And he said, I found water down here. This isn't a dry cenote. We're going to open this. And he channels through his hands and through his work, and that's his art, and that's his divine connection. And it really works with the earth. And so together, we opened what's called the Water Temple. And this beautiful cenote has been such an incredible space for so much healing. I mean, all the time you have a husband and a wife, or, you know, a couple that shows up, and one is dragging the other to the ceremony, right? And they're just going, oh, here we are again, you know, doing this. And afterward, what we call the cave glow, the glow up happens. In 3 hours' time on our property, we watch such transformation take place, because we're a place that holds frequency, and we're working in that frequency, and we really do truly feel that we're opening a portal and closing a portal each time there's a ceremony. And we invite people to just be open to receiving. And so, although there might be some spouses that don't want to be here in the end, I've never seen a shift not take place where someone is so thankful and in such gratitude for such a beautiful and unique experience that they're having. So, yes, I mean, I had people show up when tears are just rushing down their face, and they don't know why they're crying. They don't know why they're having this feeling as they get out of the car and start to come down the path to Cenote Sagrado.
I felt the energy before I got onto the path. Driving into the drive, and I was like, wow, there's something really powerful here. And when I mean, the whole thing, you get smudged when you're there, you do a fire ceremony there when you're there, going into the cave, and the musicians, I mean, you have, I have a sound healing studio in London, and I've created a portal there. It sits, the roof is like a black pyramid, and we have Orion above us, so it's absolutely stunning. And we have crystals, and I think there's only 2 setups like that in the world with the Pandora star, everything we've got there. And then when I came to yours is probably the only setup in the world like that. It was, you know, everything for me, the musicians, the energy of the cenote. And I felt like I was journeying on plant medicine. Now, this is one thing. I was told a number of times about the Alush, and it's something you spoke about when we came. You gave us, you spoke to us, you and your husband, or you spoke and your husband was present, and you spoke about the Alush. I've heard about them. I've seen pictures of their footprints when I've been looking at properties here. I've never experienced them up until I was on your property having the sound healing. And I remember when you were talking, you were saying there's the Alush, they are real, it's not made up. And I think it was maybe 15, 20 minutes into the sound healing, and the Alush surrounded my body. So I can only describe them as little square men. Can I say they were men? I would say they held a masculine energy, but they weren't men. You know, it's like angels. You know, like an angel might be a masculine energy, but it's not a man. It's very different. It's not even asexual. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It embodies both energies, but it's a strong energy.
You may have met the guardians of the cave, actually. So the Alush are, you're right, little men, generally. I'm sure there's women ones. I don't know. I've only heard them referred to as little trickster men. They're kind of like little leprechauns. And those are the guardians of the land in the sense that they take care and protect from, you know, hurricanes or storms or robbers or kind of bad activities like that. And they really love when good energy comes in. And our lovely...
But you call them tricksters. Why would you call them tricksters?
They're tricksters. They like to be... So like in the evening... So our Mayan families that live with us on our land, this goes back, you know, many years. It's an ancient, storytelling about the Alush. And they have us do offerings for them once a month or even more. Sometimes we give, you know, tequila and mezcal and honey and, different incense and oatmeal, things like that. It's like really serious what we give them. And they're supposed to protect the land. And the other night, Martha comes into the house and she says, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "What?" And it was the next morning. And she said, "At nighttime, I heard them their tricksters are running around and they're laughing." And I got worried. So I called my grandmother, and my abuela said, "It's okay. They're really happy. They're really happy with you. That's why they're playing and running around the house and leaving little footprints and things." So the Alush are the protectors of our land, and anyone who owns it, when you care for the Alush and you give gratitude for them, they keep you safe. And it's true. I mean, we have...
But the word trickster, the reason why I pull up the word trickster is because I've experienced tricksters on plant medicine. And is there anything truly bad? You know, when we use words like bad, they kind of... It's a part of there's a part of the consciousness which is the limiting belief. So for me, the tricksters are the ones who are like, "No, you've had enough. This is where you stop." You know.
My understanding is that if they're not happy with you, they hide things and they pull little trickster things like that around the property.
But they're not malevolent in any way.
No.
Yeah. So that's what I want to highlight, is that they are not malevolent.
Of course.
They're divine beings.
Yeah. Well, because you're so connected divinely, I think that probably you met we have all different size guardians inside the cave in cenote, and they truly bring themselves, you know, into the present so that they meet specific people that come in.
Oh, they were...
Oftentimes in ceremony with, say, psilocybin or Santa Maria or something like that. But if you're truly tapped into the field, then you can meet them in a very energetic and real way in this dimension, in the 3D, while you're in ceremony. So I've been told, and I've seen them myself, we've met great big giants and little tiny ones, and men and women, and more masculine than feminine, but we have little couples that come forward, and they love to come around. It's almost like an angelic feeling that they're guarding you, and they come into the space when the portal is open. So I'm guessing that those are probably the guardians that you met.
Yeah, I mean, they were incredible. They literally were surrounding the outline of my body, and they took me through my past lives, and they were undressing me and undressing me. So the first one was, they put like, I can only describe it as a crown, but it doesn't look like a crown. It almost looks like an eggshell, half an eggshell. And it was made of gold with jewels on it. They put that on my head, and then they put a red jewel on my third eye. And I was resisting it because I like blue jewels. You know, I'm like, I don't want red, I want blue. And they were like, "No, it's a red one." Like, okay. And then they were shoving gold rings on my finger, and I was like, I don't want the gold, because, you know, I'm very spiritual. Abundance comes to me anyway. And for me, abundance is, the richness of the heart and the soul and everything that this universe gives to us. So I was kind of like, I don't want the gold. This isn't what I'm about. And they're like, "No, you're having it." So they dressed me up as this Indian goddess, and then I was flying above this palace, and it was incredible. And then I came back down, and then they dressed me up as an ancient ancient Egyptian goddess, and I was transported back to Egypt, and I came back, and then I was the universal mother, and so everything came off, and because the divine mother has no uniform, I was naked, I was a tree. And I thought that was the end of the journey because it was beautiful, hummingbirds and butterflies, and I was conversing with the planets. And then I landed back in my body, and this time they wrapped me up in bandages like a mummy. And I was a bit shocked because I'd gone from this magnificence to literally losing my voice, my ears, my eyes. I felt all my senses shut down, and it was like, okay, I'm dead. I have to die. I let myself die, and that's when I transcended. Actually, I met Baphomet. I don't know if you know who Baphomet is. So Baphomet is considered this, above you have Satan, Lucifer, Satan, and then Baphomet. And apparently the elite worship, there's a belief system that he is worshipped. He's a goat-headed god, and he's what's secretly worshipped in the Roman Catholic Church, and wants sacrifices of children. And there's this huge thing about pedophilia and children being sacrificed, and which has been going on the planet. I truly know that this has now shifted, because when it's been seen, when people know about it, when the dark is seen, when light is shed upon it, it disappears. So I then transcended, and I met Baphomet, and I recognized him immediately, and my whole body was going, I know who you are. The biggest evil in the universe. But then I was like, Sofia, you know who you are. You are the divine Sofia. You are the goddess of love and peace. And he wants you to know or fear him. So as long as you think he's an enemy, he will have that power, that negative energy that will control and feed fear to the children of this planet and yourself. So I was like, you're right. So it was like this incredible consciousness within opened up, my divine self, my higher self. And I just looked at him and said, you're not my enemy. I don't have enemies.
That seems to me like you're connecting to your true, authentic duality that you had there. I
wouldn't say it was a duality. I understand where you're coming from, because this concept of duality that people talk about, they say humans are, we have a duality. I don't believe that. I think that there is no duality. It's just this oneness, and the duality was created to distract from the essence of what we truly are.
But when you're in pure, beautiful, divine form like you are in that moment, and you meet the darkness, isn't that just showing you how divine you are because of the darkness?
It's showing me that I can remove, that the darkness doesn't show your divinity. And this is, I think, the mistake in a lot of the teachers now. All of the teachers that have been before us, some teachers who are here now, the spiritual teachings, a lot of people regurgitate that information. We think that's true. And I've done it.
Yeah,
I've done it. There's this, I'll say it. Everybody, people will say 432 hertz is the original hertz. 440 is the wrong one. It was fed to us by the Nazis. There's this story. So I actually had everything retuned, my piano, everything to 432 hertz. And then over a process of a few years, I understood actually it's 440 hertz, which is the true vibration of creation of the planet, and that there's spiritual propaganda out there. So we don't need the darkness to show us how great we are. I understand.
I love to hear that, actually. So tell me then, explain why. That makes sense, actually. I'm just wondering, in that divine moment, when you're in that pure form, why do you think you met him?
I met him because I've done a lot of work over 10 years. So I've met other people or entities like Lucifer, like Satan, the Anunnaki, the Greys, the Archons. And so over the 10 years I've been doing my spiritual work, I've had to re-meet them. And I've come from, it's interesting, I'm wearing this top which says future on it. I have come from the future back into this timeline, which is the past. And I had to make some corrections so that we don't have the future that wasn't great. Amazing. So I've had to relive, and I've met these beings before. I've met them before. I've been a part of their family, even as far as, being incarnated. Even the family that I'm born into now, it's a Muslim family. It's not my belief system, which I grew up, and as I was studying, I'm like, this does not resonate with me. But there was a purpose for me to be born into that family so that I could fulfill my mission. I had to have access to Mecca. I had to have access to the Dome of the Rock to correct energy. So, for example, the energy at the Dome of the Rock needed the Star of David on it to open up the true portal, which was being blocked, right? Now, if anybody had seen that, I would have surely not be alive today, right? Yeah. So I had to be born in it because only Muslims can have access to these places. So I had to come back and work. I've been unlocking portals, even black holes. I mean, there was an ayahuasca ceremony I did with my now ex-partner who just looked up. There were 7 people in the room. I wasn't journeying. I was holding this space, and he looked up and he said, "Oh, I've just unlocked a black hole, and you're out." And I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm good, aren't I?" He was talking like this, and I said, "Yeah, but you were the one who locked me up, weren't you?" And he went, "Yeah." So I'm meeting these people who actually aren't fully awake. I'm the one who remembers who they are, and they're not fully awake, so that I can come in and do my work. And being fully awake is to know your true identity. So I've gone through so many lifetimes, and there are layers upon layers upon layers. You know, if you imagine digging, I mean, even now when they dig up temples, you know, there's a church, then there's a temple, and there's a pyramid, and there's another one, and there's another one. So our truth has been layered. And so I've been going through all of that, and I've had to meet every single one of those who have hidden our truth, because I carry the true vibration of what the truth is.
That makes sense. I'm feeling that like on a quantum level right now. It's like resonating with me.
Yeah. So because I am and you understand frequencies, and we all hold a note, a frequency, and because I hold like a signature frequency that has to be sung by my cells, by my soul in its truest note, which, as I said, has been covered up in layers and layers. And in order for that to me to have come to that point is to live my life with truth. And I've been tested. It's not even tested. It's like the negative energies will say, have this, you know, this man wants to sleep with you, but he's married. But that's lust. I don't deal with that energy. So, but then, you know, but then I had to experience, I had to create a lot of lust and transmute it into love. So I had to transmute the energy of greed. So what happens in my body, strange, before I came to Tulum, I was eating 30 donuts a day for 2 weeks. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? When I came to Tulum, I remember going on the beach and I saw these women, you know, skinny women with implants in their butts and their boobs. You know, I don't judge that, but it was like, it was all, these particular women were like this on the beach and like looking at men like that. And I went to my room and I'm like, what do I need to get done? Or what do I need to do to myself? And I looked in the mirror, I said, Sophia, you are a nun, a spiritual nun. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then I looked in my eyes, I said, no. You want me to clear the energy of greed? What's the one where, what is it? Not gluttony. Tell me the 7 sins.
Oh, good Lord.
Gluttony, greed, lust.
I can't even remember, and I grew up Catholic.
So what is it? The one where you're like...
I know what you're saying.
The one where you're... The energy where you are...
It's on the tip of my tongue, but you're asking a menopausal woman, so...
Gluttony, greed, lust. So anyway,
yes.
So you guys are going to watch it and scream it out at the screen. Please just do that.
Clearing.
So it was that energy of... you know, when you keep looking at yourself and
vanity.
Vanity! Yep. Yes, we got it. Vanity. So I was like, I understood that point. You want me to clear vanity? Oh my God. And you know, it was the hardest energy. It was harder than greed.
Wow.
Vanity. It was much harder than greed. And luckily that lasted 3 days. And I'm like, please don't make me covet my neighbor's husband. But I realized I'd already had that test because I had a client who came for a healing and I thought he was gorgeous and he was spiritual. And I'm like, this is, you know, he's incredible. So I did ask him during the healing because he kept coming for like 12 months. And I said, And he said, I trust you now, and I can be open with you, just looking deep into my eyes. And I thought, he's going to kiss me soon. I'm like, yay. Anyway, at that point, I said, so tell me about your relationship. Do you have a relationship? Yeah, I do. It's long distance. And that was my signal. So I'm like, okay, I did that one.
Yeah.
I backed off. So I understood that these energies were working through me. And that brought me to this brought me to the place in your incredible divine healing cenote, where I was met with Baphomet, and I understood that my frequency of truth resonates. So if I believe there's an enemy, that enemy will exist on the planet because I have a key frequency. So I looked at him and said, I don't have any enemies. Because that anger, that fear of knowing that this is the big bad wolf, actually, you don't exist. Not exist. It was like, you're not my enemy. And he turned into a cute little goat.
Wow.
So I transmuted this energy.
Say you transmuted through. Wow, that's amazing.
So tell me about your frequency work. I'm aware we have 4 minutes, but I just want you to now speak about the frequency work and the portal work you do.
Yeah. Well, everything we do for any of our experiences, even if it's a cacao ceremony, has to do with frequency, because we use music and vibration, and we tune our instruments to specific scales, whether they're Egyptian or 440 hertz or whatever.
But you work with 440 as well.
Yeah. Well, we work with several, but that's one of them for sure.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I mean, it's not all me. I'm just the owner, and I help curate. Obviously, we have sound shaman and medicine musicians that are quite talented and fantastic.
But do you not do other work in Egypt?
Oh yeah, I do work in Egypt. I lead retreats there. So that is I wouldn't necessarily say that's a frequency retreat, but what I'm doing is I'm leading my guests into the sacred spaces, and I'm going through the ancient teachings that are inscribed in the Unas pyramid that are considered to be Egyptian mysteries. And we are activating the codes and the downloads and receiving activation. So we're taking our 3D bodies, we're tapping into our heart space, and we're tapping into the interdimensional field of each of these sacred spaces. And it is receiving frequencies that way and receiving activations and codes. And I really don't know many people that are doing trips like this.
I mean, actually, it's interesting because I've done one-to-one trips with some people of activation. We work differently, but we work the same, if that makes sense.
It does.
So and this is something that a lot of people are drawn to Egypt as well, and Mexico.
It's having a moment right now for sure.
And on my journey, I've actually discovered through my higher self, rather than reading books, is the wisdom that is within my own breath, my own body, my own soul. That actually the powerful gods of Egypt were actually Mayan, and that we...
That's right, I remember you saying this to me.
Yeah.
I do think Egypt and this land here in the Yucatan is extraordinarily tied together.
Well, Ekbalam.
Yeah.
Did I tell you that story?
No, but I have a feeling I know. Please fill me in.
So in Ekbalam, when I went there is a carving. There's carvings on, I think it's the only pyramid in Mexico with carvings.
Yeah, I think so too.
So it has an Indian woman, an ancient Egyptian woman, and a Mayan.
Isn't that crazy?
In a line. I believe that's me. I was told it was me.
Oh, wow.
I was told it was me by this. So I had when I went to Ekbalam the first time, this guy said, "Can I be your guide?" And I said, "Yes, but if I start crying or if I start making noises or speaking an ancient language, let it happen, because these things happen." And portals open, because portals open when the space recognizes you.
Of course.
Your body's code is connecting. We're like locks and keys. So he said, "Look, climb up to the middle. I'm not going to come with you. Come down and tell me what you see." And I came down. I had a vision when I was up there. I turned around and I started talking, and I saw. This is what I said. I said, "You were hiding behind the trees. I saw you come out. The land was red with the color of the blood of my ancestors as you murdered them all. Their names are written in my blood. I will never forget them." And then we went to Egypt. So I then remember this guy who had brought me to the pyramid was the one who snuck me out because I was the seer, because I was the high priestess. So I was being protected. And then they snuck me out, and I took some of my family and ended up in Egypt. So when I came down, he said, what did you see? I said, I saw the Indian lady. He said, that's you, isn't it? I said, yeah. He said, I led you to safety. I said, I remember. So it was super
like
profound.
Full circle, yeah.
Yeah, full circle. So it was profound. And then I did a journey. Somebody came and did a plant medicine journey with me who's done it before. His name is actually Jesus. And he's done medicine work before. And I said, look, you need to come. I said, you really need to come and do the medicine. And so as he was doing the medicine, he said, I'm in the caves in Egypt in front of the pyramid by the Sphinx. I'm like, okay. He said, there's a whole bunch of people with their back towards me in the cave. I'm like, tell them Sofia Hyatt is here, because my name is a vibration. He said, one of them's turned around. They're saying they're lost. I said, tell them to go home. Mm-hmm. They don't know where home is. I said, tell them Mexico is home. And they said, no, they think it's Egypt. I said, no. They were hidden in these caves under the Sphinx because their life was in danger, and I had to bring them here and give them a whole new identity that they forgot who they were to protect them. And he said, they're leaving. And he then took another journey the same day, and he said, they're in Mexico and they're happy. So, yeah, there's a lot of work like this that I'm doing, and it's not just about what I'm doing. This guy had to be involved. There are others who have trodden that land, who have put their frequencies down. So it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle that, people are putting a little piece down every time they come, and we're not fully aware of the impact that we're having, but it contributes to this massive, what do we call it? Plan of the universe.
Yeah. Blueprint that we're fulfilling right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, going back, it makes sense that Mexico and Egypt are connected because of all the stargates that are in Egypt. You see Saqqara Pyramid, which is a step pyramid that is built exactly like Chichen Itza.
Right.
Now, back then, there's no way they could travel that distance, so they had to come through wormholes or stargates or some sort of way to travel. So regardless if Egypt's older than Mexico or Mexico's older than Egypt, and we don't know what happened to the ancient Mayans, right? They just disappeared. Maybe they were in the cave underneath the Sphinx, with the Atlanteans and everyone else. Who knows?
Absolutely.
But,
absolutely. I would love to talk to you for much longer. Really, I want to talk to you for much longer. And maybe we'll do another one soon. But it's been an absolute pleasure. Is there anything that you'd like to leave us with?
No, I think we've covered it. I mean, it's fascinating. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah,
really fun.
As I said, it was, for me, there's been 3 people, you, Helena, and Luceros, who we're going to be speaking to later, who have been a part of my journey. You've been keys for some of the locks in my body, your land, the guardians of your land, even your dogs, on your land, and your frequency. And we were meant to come together, and
thank you.
It's somewhere we planned it.
Yes, of course. Well, I received that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Thank you. That's the first part done. That was lovely.
Yeah.
Amazing.